So the question is, are they going to cooperate to avoid life sentences?
I mean, somebody died. Everybody's already, they gone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Durk probably the only one that can walk away. If, you know what I'm saying, they really like, no, he had nothing to do with that, y'all going off of iCloud and this and that and this and that and ruh.
What? Listen. It's like Nicki said best. Why Lil Durk in jail right now? Murder for hire, right? Someone had to tell.
And they're telling.
So you talking about, like Nicki said it best, you talking about snitches when it's snitches in your camp.
And 9 times out of 10, the people don't even know who's snitching.
So look at Young Thug's situation, right? Young Thug was fighting a RICO in the state. Stop saying you gangster and you fighting a RICO in the state. Stop saying a RICO's a RICO. And first of all, you didn't beat a RICO because you pleaded guilty. You don't get acquitted.
An Apple Watch. That's what landed Lil Durk in solitary confinement for 5 months straight. Not a fight, not a weapon, a smartwatch with cellular capabilities that staff alleged he tried to destroy when they came to take it. And from that moment, August 29th, 2025, he was dropped into a cell barely large enough for a single bed, a toilet, and a sink. 1 hour out per day, no commissary, no in-person visits, 1 phone call every 30 days. For a man with 7 kids. For a man who hasn't been convicted of anything. 131 consecutive days passed before his legal team even got a court to formally look at what was happening to him. Here's the full picture of what Lil Durk is going through inside MDC Los Angeles, and why it matters beyond just one man's case. Durk, born Durk Derek Banks, was the first Chicago drill rapper to ever win a Grammy. Best Melodic Rap Performance, February 2024. For All My Life with J. Cole, 4 days after performing at the United Center in Chicago on his birthday, same arena where Michael Jordan played, U.S. Marshals caught him near Miami International Airport. The Fed said he had booked international flights to Dubai and Switzerland. They said he was running. The charges stem from an August 2022 shooting at a gas station near the Beverly Center in West Hollywood. Prosecutors allege Durk organized, financed, and directed 5 members of his Only the Family collective to travel from Chicago to Los Angeles to track and attempt to kill Quando Rondo. In retaliation for the 2020 death of King Von, Rondo escaped. His cousin Severia Robinson, 24 years old, was killed instead. A second indictment added allegations connecting Durk to a separate 2022 murder for hire, the killing of Stefan Mack, a Chicago man the FBI identified as a leader of the Gangster Disciples, allegedly in retaliation for the 2021 murder of Durk's own brother Dang. Durk pleaded not guilty to all of it. Getting him out while the case plays out has been a different battle entirely. His team put together 4 separate bond packages, each more elaborate than the last. The first included $2.3 million in property, $1 million cash from Sony Music, electronic monitoring, around-the-clock private security, and surrender of all devices. Denied. The second brought in a Beverly Hills-based licensed security firm, Airset Group, that would report directly to the court, not to Durk. Still denied. By the 4th attempt, the package had grown to $4.5 million with real estate equity, cash from Alamo Records, and a full private security infrastructure. U.S. District Judge Michael Fitzgerald said the same thing every time. No combination of conditions would reasonably assure the safety of the community or Durk's appearance in court. Meanwhile, prosecutors kept adding weight. They'd initially tried to use a 2022 track called Wonderful Wayne and Jackie Boy as evidence that Durk was celebrating Lil Pab's murder in his music. Durk's team produced a sworn affidavit from the song's producer proving the track was recorded 7 to 8 months before the shooting. The prosecution dropped the lyrics. But they didn't drop anything else. They seized an unreleased song called Scoom His Ass from a co-defendant's phone. Durk rapping about riding through Beverly Hills with choppers, approximately 1.5 miles from where the shooting occurred, and told the court it showed Durk directing his organization's violence against rivals. What happened next inside MDC is what his own attorneys called a violation of federal law. For 11 months after arriving at the facility, Durk had no disciplinary write-ups according to his legal team. No fights, no formal issues. Then came August 29th and the Apple Watch. Bureau of Prisons officials said Durk not only had the device, but attempted to destroy it when staff moved to confiscate it. The prosecution immediately filed a motion citing the Apple Watch as evidence of significant risk of witness tampering, using it to push for an anonymous jury, the kind of protection normally reserved for terrorism cases and organized crime trials. Durk was moved from general population to the segregated housing unit that same day. Federal Bureau of Prisons regulations require that when an inmate is placed in administrative segregation, a unit discipline committee review must happen within 5 working days. For serious infractions, a formal hearing before a disciplinary hearing officer is required. These aren't suggestions, they're federal rules. His attorney Christy O'Connor filed a motion in January 2026 arguing Durk had received neither review in 131 consecutive days. It got worse. When his attorneys pressed MDC for an explanation, they got 2 completely different answers. In October 2025, an attorney for the facility said Durk's celebrity status had nothing to do with placing him in the SHU. 2 months later, in December 2025, the warden told defense counsel a completely different story: that Durk was considered a threat to the general public because of the high-profile nature of his case and potential rule violations. 2 contradictory explanations: no formal hearing, 131 days in a box. His attorneys argued the conditions violated the 8th Amendment's prohibition on cruel and unusual punishment. A judge held a status hearing in January 2026. On January 15th, approximately 5 months after he was placed in the SHU, Durk was moved back to general population. He didn't walk free. He moved from solitary to the main facility, where he remains in custody today. What's happening to Durk is documented, but it's also part of a pattern the federal government has been running on high-profile rap cases for years. Young Thug sat in a Georgia jail for years before his YSL RICO resolved. Meek Mill spent years cycling through the system on probation violations that legal observers called disproportionate. The federal government, in Durk's own court filings, called Only the Family a hybrid organization that blends legitimate business with organized crime. The same RICO-adjacent framing used to label YSL a gang. The playbook is consistent. Expanded indictments with new charges added post-arrest. Rap lyrics submitted as evidence until courts reject them. Requests for anonymous juries normally reserved for terrorism cases. Bond denials regardless of the financial package presented. In Durk's case, prosecutors also pointed to death threats allegedly made by his supporters, not Durk himself, against the magistrate judge who denied his first bond requests and against the lead prosecutor, arguing these demonstrated the danger his organization posed. His defense team called it the government using chaos on the margins to build a narrative they cannot sustain at trial. And through all of it, what Durk has been communicating from inside that building is the part most people haven't slowed down enough to hear. In January 2026, still in solitary, he posted to Instagram over a black screen: "Crazy how you got to wait until it's dark out to see who really with you." Then in March 2026, back in general population, he sent a voice message to his followers. He talked about reading Fred Hampton, Elaine Brown, Huey P. Newton. He called them revolutionaries who had been through something and stood for something that a lot of people don't know of or forgot about. He mentioned Pawns in the Game by William Guy Carr, a book analyzing the architecture of institutional power. And then he said this: "It's just been sitting on my heart lately to save the generation. Save these kids. I'm just tired of being a pawn for the culture, entertaining and being ignorant." That's a man who built his entire artistic identity on Englewood, Chicago, who lost King Von in 2020, his own brother Dang in 2021, multiple OTF members to gun violence across his entire career, who turned all of that into music, a label, and a Grammy, whose music the federal government is using in court to frame him as the leader of a criminal enterprise. And he's sitting in federal custody saying he doesn't want to be that anymore. His music is moving on its own. Deep Thoughts dropped March 2025 from inside custody, debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200, became one of the highest streamed albums of that year. He earned more RIAA certifications in 2025 than any other rapper, putting him in the top 50 RIAA artists of all time at 52.2 million units sold. His cultural footprint is bigger than it has ever been, and he cannot walk into a studio or see his kids outside of what the federal system permits. The trial is currently scheduled for August 25, 2026. His legal team, which now includes Brian Steele, the attorney who represented Young Thug through the YSL RICO, has gotten the lyrics thrown out, gotten him out of solitary, and is pushing back on every piece of evidence, including the anonymous jury request. But the question that should stay with everyone watching this is simpler than any legal argument. At what point does pretrial treatment become its own form of punishment? Durk has not been convicted. a jury has never returned a verdict. He has entered his not guilty plea, stood at the defense table, put his hand over his heart, smiled at his family, and walked back into custody. Again and again and again. And between those appearances, he has been reading Fred Hampton and saying he wants to save the generation. Whatever the trial produces, that part has already happened. Drop your thoughts below. Do you think Durk is getting a fair process, or is this the system doing what it always does? Subscribe if you want every development on this case broken down the right way.